Welcome to your daily practice. Today, we're going to explore variations on Sun Salutation. So this is actually a combination of shapes and poses that you're familiar with some of them from the last practice that we did, and some may be new. So we're going to demonstrate and move slowly at first, and then we'll pick up the pace a little bit and move a little bit more quickly. But please feel like you can start and stop whenever you need to, and just do what feels good for your body today. Let's start today's practice in a comfortable seated position. We're gonna always start with some sort of breathing, grounding to kind of get us in touch with our body and our breath. That comfortable seated position can look a bunch of different ways, as we've talked about. I've rolled up a blanket and put it underneath my hips to help me feel a little bit more comfortable in the cross-legged posture. Craig is on a block. This can look a number of different ways for you, but just get comfortable. Bring the hands to the tops of your knees or your thighs. Palms can be facing up or down. Maybe take the eyes to a close or a soft gaze. Start to drop in. Feel the contact points with your block, your mat, your blanket. Start to breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Maybe seal the lips and start to take your breath rounds in through the nose and out through the nose. Softening the shoulders down, the jaw, maybe allow the teeth to separate, the tongue to relax in the mouth. Feel the length in your spine as you sit here, feeling connected to the earth, but also feeling that reach of the crown of the head reaching up. The earlobes away from the shoulders, broadening in the collarbones. And feeling that gentle space underneath the armpits as well. Imagining the space available for your lungs to take in that beautiful breath. A couple more rounds of breath here. If it feels good to have an audible exhale, do it. Let that sigh come in. Do what feels good for you today. When you feel complete here, we're going to make our way into our tabletop position. So this shape, just as a review, we're stacking those joints, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees, tap the tops of the feet. Let's get connected to the ground. And let's take a couple cat-cows, okay? Letting the breath lead, inhaling, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Broaden in the chest, and then exhale, arch the spine, maybe press into the tops of the feet, press into the hands, maybe shake the head yes or no. Inhaling brings you back, and maybe brings you into some circles. What feels good today? Just welcome that in without judgment. But let the breath lead you there. Come back to a neutral posture here. And we're actually going to take our child's pose just to kind of settle in. That can be wide knees, as wide as the mat. Bring the big toes to touch, bringing your tailbone back towards your heels. And maybe even as you rest your forehead, maybe even coming up to your fingertips, getting some more space underneath the armpits here, and lengthen the side body. Maybe rocking back and forth on your forehead, massaging your third eye. Allowing yourself to just melt into the mat a little bit here. And as a reminder, we can use blocks, we can use blankets, any props to kind of bring the earth up to us. Anything to kind of support the pose that we're in. Take a couple of breaths here. And on your next inhale, make your way back to tabletop. We're gonna tuck the toes under, and now we're going to do our first downward dog. So in down dog, we're going to lift the hips up and back and allow your hands to press into the mat. Feet are hip width distance apart. Okay, so a lot of variations for this, okay? You can bend the knees deeply. Allow the head and the neck to release here. I want you to be cognizant of making sure that you feel your hands into the mat. Come out of this posture at any time to rest. You can come down to your knees, but I just want to show you some alignment things. Feel your finger pads into the mat. Beautiful. Allow yourself to feel that beautiful length in your spine. So we talk about the length in the back of the neck, and then the hips reaching up and back, that beautiful hip hinging. With the legs, there can be a deep bend in the knees, and you can be on the balls of your feet. Yeah, maybe come down to the knees just to show how we can rest in this pose. And then when you want to come back up, you want to make sure that you really feel that you're lifting from the hips up and back. Play around with the length of space between the hands and the feet. You should feel like you're in a V. Your gaze is looking between your feet. Remember that drishti, that focal point. So in downward dog, if this feels comfortable, take 3 breath rounds here, in and out through the nose. One more breath here. We'll take one more breath together. On the exhale, let it go through the mouth. Maybe flutter the lips. On your next inhale, come to the balls of your feet, bend the knees, look forward, and I want you to take some gentle, small steps to meet your hands. That can be as many steps as you need to take. Now we're back in our forward fold. Feet hip width distance apart. They could be a little bit wider too if that feels good. Welcome a gentle bend in the knees or a deep bend. Whatever feels good for you today, but allow the head and the neck to really release here. Excellent place for blocks. As we've done in our forward fold before, blocks are an excellent way to make you feel like the ground is supporting you, bringing the ground up to you. So the goal isn't how far can I stretch. It's really about making sure that you are letting the breath lead you. Release the head and the neck, maybe shake the head yes and no. Remove the blocks if you had blocks. We're gonna inhale, root to rise, roll all the way up to stand, letting the head and neck be the very last thing that comes up. I'll show you what this looks like head on. So now we're back in our mountain pose. We're back in Tadasana, that foundational posture. Feel the 4 corners of the feet into the mat, palms facing out, energized in the fingers. Feel the length in the spine. And now we're gonna move into Sun Salutation A. Okay, so we'll move a little bit, flow a little bit. We'll show you some modifications along the way. And at any point, I just want you to know child's pose is available for you to rest. Whether that be wide knee child's pose or maybe knees touching, arms resting behind you. So let's come to the front of our mat. Have your blocks kind of handy at the top of your mat. Front of your mat, we're gonna do Tadasana mountain pose. I'm gonna do this facing forward and Craig is gonna show you what it looks like from the side. Inhale, reach up, lengthen through the side body. On an exhale, we're gonna hinge at the hips, forward fold. On your next inhale, we're gonna take a halfway lift. That can mean fingertips on the floor in front of you, hands at your shins. But the point of this is to make sure that you feel length in the spine. Your gaze is directly down in front of you, and we're hinged at the hips, right? Take a deep breath in, exhale, forward fold again. Let's try that one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. And on an exhale, we're going to step back into our high plank. This can be taken on the knees or fully extended with your feet and your heels reaching towards the back of the room. From high plank, take an inhale here. And then on an exhale, let's bring ourselves all the way down to our belly. Lengthening here, maybe making sure that you can feel the tops of the feet on the mat. We're gonna take the hands by our low ribs and we're gonna take a baby cobra. This is a baby back bend to help you feel some length in the back of the neck, but also feel that front of the chest broadening. So on an inhale, come up. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, one more time, come up. Exhale, come back down. Press yourself back up to tabletop on an inhale. And on an exhale, bring yourself back into downward dog. Beautiful. Take 3 rounds of breath here in your downward facing dog, remembering to feel the finger pads into the mat. Maybe even if it's accessible to you, lift all 10 toes up off the ground. Let it go. I'd like to share with you another way to access downward dog. I want to show you what downward dog can look like using a chair. Basically, we're playing around with gravity and the way that we shift the weight to different parts of the body and just kind of play around with like where we are in space. Craig, would you be so kind as to demonstrate for us? Basically, downward dog, it's about the hip hinging. It's about the feeling of the length in the spine. It's also important to feel that you are connected to the ground, right? So we're playing around with gravity. Feel the length in the spine here, and you're still getting that kind of forward fold, a little bit of that inversion, and the hip hinging. So downward dog can look like this, or it can look like we had it on the mat, okay? Let's come back to the mat, and from down dog, we'll expand a little bit on our flow. Let's come to the top of the mat, Tadasana mountain pose. Let's take an inhale, reach up, look up if that feels good. Exhale, forward fold, hinge at the hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, we're gonna plant the hands, step back into your high plank, lower down the knees, perhaps chest, chin, bring your belly all the way down, untuck the toes, bring your hands by your low ribs, inhale, low cobra. Exhale, release down. We're gonna take the fingertips wider than the mat here, in line with your shoulders. We're gonna take a variation on that low cobra. So inhale, look about a foot in front of you. Exhale, melt that right shoulder towards the center of your mat and let your head rest. A little bit of a stretch for the upper back. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, melt the left shoulder. Let that left side of the head rest. On your next inhale, back to center. Exhale, plant the hands, and then hinge back into downward dog. 3 rounds of breath here. Let's invite some exhales with some sighs or fluttering the lips. Inhaling through the nose. Exhale, flutter the lips. 2 more like that. Inhale. One more here. Inhale. On your next inhale, bend the knees and the balls of your feet look forward. Exhale, step or float to meet your hands at the top of your mat. Your inhale brings you to a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, root to rise. Exhale, hands to heart center in prayer. We're gonna revisit our warrior 1. Inhale, step the right foot back. Feet are hip width distance apart or wider. Right? We land that back foot at a 45-degree angle. Maybe the arms come up, maybe they're on the hips. Feel the stretch in that right hip flexor as you press down into the knife's edge of that right foot. Get heavy in the left foot as you can feel that groundedness and stability of the front foot. Inhale, reach the arms up if they're not already there. And then exhale, we're gonna plant the hands. We're gonna step back to our plank, whether that's high plank or plank on the knees. And then bring yourself down to your belly. On the inhale, come up to your low cobra. Exhale, press back, however you wanna get there, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Take your gaze in between your feet. 3 rounds of breath here. Invite that stillness in. Listen to the sound of your own breath. Let it go. On your next inhale, come to the balls of your feet, bend the knees, step or float forward to meet your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center in prayer. Beautiful. Let's take warrior 1 to the other side. We're going to inhale that left foot back. Maybe the arms reach up, maybe the hands are at the hips. Do what feels good for you. Landing that left foot down, making sure that the hips are squared towards the front of your mat. Let me show you what that looks like straight on, okay? See how both of my hip bones are pointing forward. So that's what we want here. Warrior 1, let's take one more round of breath together. On the exhale, we're gonna step into our high plank. Lower down all the way to your belly. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, come back down. Tuck the toes. Bring yourself back to your downward facing dog. Nice. Let's come onto the knees. Bring yourself back into your tabletop. Maybe sit on your heels. I want you to just take a moment to feel the echo of these poses in your body, these shapes. Take a moment maybe with your hands on your thighs. Just a couple seconds to breathe. Let it go. From here, let's make our way onto our back to our final resting shape, Shavasana. Let your feet flop out to the sides. Allow your hands to be on your side as well, palms facing up. Let yourself sink into the earth. Let your breath return to normal. You can rest now, Shavasana. Start to bring your awareness back into the room. Bring some awareness back to your breath. And wiggle the fingers and the toes. Keeping your eyes closed, make your way onto one side. Bend the knees into a fetal position. Maybe rest on your bicep. Take a few breaths here, keeping the eyes closed if that feels comfortable. When you feel ready, press yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go. Thank you for practicing with me today. It has been an honor. Please always remember that you can take this with you throughout your day. Thank you.